So it's been a few days since the mass shooting in New Zealand, and there was an aspect of it that I wanted to talk about, but I gave myself, you know, long enough to really give it a good think, and also I'm not jumping on this for views. I hope only the under 300 people that are regular viewers of my channel watch this, because I like having a dialogue. But I'm going to label this video, the title of it, something different than I normally would, because I've seen a lot of just censorship of videos in the wake of this shooting. There's been, of course, the self-censorship of the name of the shooter, and there's been the censorship of not showing any footage, but also platforms have gone out of their way to remove people who are just using clips of his footage that don't even have like the actual shooting, but like say the clip where he says subscribe to PewDiePie. They've been removing videos, and I'm like, ugh, I don't want that. I don't like to be censored, and I see where the line is that they're drawing. I'm like, I can get around that. I don't believe in self-censoring over names, like somebody is Mufasa. Ooh, say it again. Or Voldemort. Yeah, the name of the shooting suspect is Brenton Harrison Tarrant, and where other people were saying don't go looking for the video, don't watch the video, don't spread the video, I was like, no, I want to see this one. If you guys have followed my channel for the years that I've been here, you know that I've investigated a lot of murders and a lot of murderers, and I follow court cases, and I go to the sites where these things happened, and I'm just interested in the subject in general. I'm not, by no means am I an expert, but I did see this wave of this Philip DeFranco-esque not saying his name, not publicizing him because he was trying to get famous by killing people. I saw this. I'm like, okay. It looks very similar to a few other cases where there's more meaning to it than just being famous or terrorism. There are some underlying things that I think can be they can be explored through the writings and the video footage. There was a lot of symbolism in it, and I'm not saying you guys should go out and watch it, but I'm going to talk a bit about it. Some of the symbolism being, like, if you see on his gun the number 14, if you dig a little further, that's like a reference to 14 words, which is white supremacist doctrine, that was referenced on his gun. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of different clues as to what was going through this guy's mind. But the biggest thing is his manifesto. And along with watching the video, I found the manifesto and read it, and it was not as great a read as previous shooters, let me tell you. And there was actually a lot of blank space in it. It was not put out as a PDF. It was a simple Word document. And I'm like, what is going on here? This guy is not very polished. Like the shooter that he actually references, and is the closest thing to what he did, which is Anders Breivik. to me, this looks like a copycat-ish thing to the Anders Breivik shooting. And the reason why I'm making this video is because I feel like there's this topic that I brought up in 2011. And I'll link to the video in the description box. But in 2011, this topic came up where Bill O'Reilly, who back then had a TV show, and it was like the biggest thing on cable news, he said that Anders Breivik was not a Christian, right? And so I went about debunking that by using Anders Breivik's manifesto, and saying this is the work that he decided would be, defining him after he did the act. He wanted this to be his representation, and what do you know? First fucking page, there's an iron cross. Duh, this guy was a Christian. And mostly he was a Christian in my eyes because he said he was. You have to take people at face value when they declare what religion they are, and then you can have a conversation about how well they adhere to the tenets of that religion. You can argue with that later, but pretty much I feel like the best way to go about this is say, let them self-identify. Whatever they call themselves, that's what they were, whether they were good or bad at it. And I wanted to make a video kind of preemptively because of the similar nature of these two incidents between Anders Breivik's shooting and the Christchurch mosque shooting. Really because I feel like without Bill O'Reilly being in the public sphere anymore, and I actually give him a little bit of credit for having grown from all of his journalistic experience, the lessons that were learned by Bill O'Reilly from the past, like don't open your mouth and say that somebody wasn't a Christian when they were, these are doomed to be repeated by his contemporaries, like Tucker Carlson, who to me looks like a really dumbed down version of Bill O'Reilly. Just my opinion, right? So Tucker Carlson occupies the same time slot that Bill O'Reilly had, has nowhere near the popularity of Bill O'Reilly, but this is this part of his career. It could be that Tucker Carlson becomes massively more successful than Bill O'Reilly ever was in the future. I'll give him that. He's got a platform and Bill O'Reilly doesn't. But to me, he just seems like a cheap knockoff, really. I think Sean Hannity is probably a better journalist than Tucker Carlson and probably deserved the time slot better. But these lessons that were learned by Bill O'Reilly are not going to be carried on by the new generation of journalists on Fox News, and they're going to say things like the Christchurch shooter, the New Zealand shooter, he was not a Christian. He was an atheist, and they'll try to point to certain things that he said, and I just like to dissect those for a second because I've got a perspective that I think the people that do watch me might respect on this. So in the manifesto, Brenton Tarrant, he says, "Were/are you a Christian?" in an FAQ style listing of questions that he expected people to ask. And his own answer to that question, are you a Christian, is, that is complicated. When I know, I will tell you. So he's not claiming Christianity, but he's not disavowing it. He's to me, when I read his writings, he sees it as a very good chance that he's going to one day feel like a Christian. You know, there are some reservations he has, but to me, he comes off as a questioning Christian, and definitely a cultural Christian. Much like you have people who are in belief atheists, but are cultural Jews. You know, this guy, he really likes the culture that surrounds a group of people that are primarily Christian Europeans, and he's defending them against what he sees as the aggressors, the Muslims. So, in another place in his manifesto on page 9, he talks about the Kosovo debacle with the U.S. and NATO. And he says, U.S. NATO forces fought beside Muslims and slaughtered Christian Europeans attempting to remove these Islamic occupiers from Europe. So, just the way that he's painting that, to me, says that he sides with the Christian Europeans in this case. And he has a whole portion of his manifesto dedicated to Christians. It's called To Christians. He's trying to wake them up to come to his aid as far as them being combatants as well. He mentions in his manifesto the Hagia Sophia will be free of minarets, and Constantinople will be rightfully Christian-owned once more. Again, he sees the Christian interest in Istanbul, and he thinks that it should be, once again, Christian land. He talks about a lot of different celebrities in one part of his manifesto, where he calls Madonna, the singer, a degenerate, drug addict, childless whore, anti-Christian, pro-misogynation person. And it's the anti-Christian part. Like, he takes offense at her being anti-Christian. You know, and I imagine that's because of his interpretation of the Like a Prayer video, maybe. He also talks about non-governmental organizations in one part of his manifesto, where he says that in fact they're far from religious themselves, and more often than not are actually atheistic cultural Marxists using naive Christian Europeans to both labor and fund their own attempt at class and racial warfare. See, the way he's demonizing these NGOs is to call them atheistic cultural Marxists. To me, this points to him using the terminology of the alt-right and white supremacy in the same in the same few pages. And to me, it's obvious to me that he is at least a cultural Christian. You know, even if he might have some problems with faith. You know, he's maybe questioning his faith. He doesn't actually mention his belief in magic that much. It's more him thinking that if Muslims are allowed into lands that he considers to be historically Christian, then the white people there will just be bred out, and that's his worry. It's mostly a racist paranoia of, we have low birth rates, so we need to have more babies and they need to have less because I want the people 1,000 years from now to look as white as I do. That's it. And there are a couple of other things that let me see that maybe he is a little bit more questioning than a lot of other people who are in that category of they're not completely bought into the Christian faith, but they're thinking about it. And the last thing that is written in the manifesto, it says, "Goodbye, God bless you all, and I will see you in Valhalla," which Valhalla is not a Christian concept. That would be Odinists who believe in that sort of thing. And yeah, I don't know if he means this as a literal thing that he believes, but just alluding to something that is not Christian as the final thing that he says in his manifesto. I just don't think that he was completely Christian. And, even in that, he was a horrible one in that he's not following the whole thou shalt not kill. He's not turning the other cheek to this. He's not, there's a lot of things that he falls short of as far as being a good Christian. In my humble opinion. But also, I definitely don't think that he would identify as an atheist, especially not a movement atheist. He's demonizing the things that he doesn't like by calling those things atheist, right? In so much as he is trying to defend the lands that he thinks should belong to white Christians from an attacker, and that attacker is Muslims, I think he would also see atheists as being attackers if atheists had, some sort of decorative building that they would throw up and then attend regularly. If there were something that he could point to attack that atheists did, I think he would just as likely attack them for trying to undermine the culture that he likes so much. So, I know this is hard for some people to wrap their head around, but I don't think that he was Christian at the time of his shooting. He might actually find Jesus while he's behind bars, but I wouldn't call him a Christian based on chiefly the statement, it's complicated. When I know, I will tell you. But I also don't think he was an atheist. Definitely not a Muslim, right? He's not a self-hating Muslim in doing this, but not an atheist either. He actually despises atheists. So where does that leave him if you are of the mindset that religious thought is a dichotomy? If you don't believe, then you must be a non-believer. This is this is an argument that's gone on YouTube for a long time because some people just cannot see it as more than either or, you know. But there are a lot of people who do not fit that dichotomy, and they are caught in the middle. You know, they don't know exactly what they are, and they want some more time to think about it. And there are some people who just don't fit that binary choice. So I'll call him religiously non-binary and be okay with that, you know. And really, I wouldn't like anyone to demonize an entire group of people by saying that this guy was a representative of them. You know, he wasn't. He is the vast minority of people, and I know that the people who try to suppress his video and his manifesto are trying to keep it that way. They don't want his thoughts to spread like a meme that infects a whole bunch of people. But I think that people might be doing their own cause a disservice by not letting people see this for what it is, by turning people's faces away from the horror that it is. I think they're not giving people a chance to get inoculated against this sort of stupidity and the pain that this man feels and what the proper responses to it should be. You know, if we could have reached this man before all of this, there are a lot of things that I would have wanted to tell him, you know, and have a conversation with him and possibly disarm him. And I think that we all need to be equipped with the facts that would disarm this sort of violence, you know. Anyway, that's my take on it. Sorry, I'm not true to myself by naming my video exactly what is in it, but I actually like to be heard and not suppressed and deleted. So for this one topic, this one time, I'm just going to give myself a pass on that.